Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we're going to talk about why realities can take a long time to materialize, especially when you start getting into the higher vibrational realities, the soul aligned realities. Why does that take time? Why is it not instant? Because you see a lot of parts of this process, and there's a part when you enter into what a lot of people will call like the fifth dimension. You'll see it called New Earth. You kind of have an awakening in some way. Usually the awakening is pretty traumatic. It's traumatic to our human because something normally has to happen to push us there. At least it did for me, and for most people it is. Some people can go through a more soft awakening, but I don't know that many people that went through it that way. So if you did have a soft awakening, congratulations on that one. It pushes you into something else besides the human realities. So people go into what they would call the fifth dimension. And you know when people are in this dimension, it's ooey, it's gooey, everything is beautiful, everything is love, their voices are kind of singy-songy and sweet. Mine was that way. If you go back and watch any older videos I did when I was in that place, my voice is different. I personally cannot listen to anyone in this place. I just can't do it. It's too sticky sweet, and that's because I'm just in a different frequency now. So people who are in that frequency are going to be attracted to those types of videos. But when you get to different frequencies, you can't really listen to that anymore because it's not all moonlight and roses. And then you start getting into higher dimensional realities for our human. For our human aspect, it's not an easy transition to make because our whole body is a carbon-based body. It's all ingrained into human realities. And when you start pulling out of those realities, it's not a transition for our human body, for our human DNA, the way we're programmed to react, because we have to reprogram everything. And that takes time. So it's not an instant thing. It's kind of like, I'm going to equate it to a human, sort of a human parallel reality, because all these realities kind of happen on top of each other in a sense. I can be with someone in a third dimensional human reality, and we can be in the same place at the same time. But if I'm in a ninth dimensional reality, I'm going to have a totally different experience there than they're going to have. And this happens repeatedly, where people will be with me and they'll be like, oh, that was terrible, blah, blah, blah. And I had an amazing time. You know, it's like the sun was shining on me the entire time I was there. But someone else would have a different experience because they're programmed to read it a different way. They're programmed to react a different way. They have a different emotion around why they were there. They might not know 100% of all the reasons they were there because we're always everywhere for a zillion different reasons. It's not just one reason. So if we take our human existence, we grew up, we went to school for 12 years, we graduated from high school. Some people went to college, which is another 4 years. Could be more if you got a master's degree, if you got a doctorate degree. Some people did different vocational training. It didn't really matter. The fact is you went through a lot of different steps to get to your human career, whatever that was going to be for you. And you start equating that to, so let's say that's 20 years. Minimum 18. For most people, 20, 22, 24. To get to different, maybe an entry-level job, and then you had to work at that for a couple years until you learned kind of the on-the-job training, and then you got moved up a little bit, and you got moved up a little bit, till you probably got to where you felt pretty secure. I'm going to air quote that, because third-dimensional realities are not secure. Till you felt more secure, and you got into maybe your 30s, maybe your 40s, where you felt like, okay, yeah, my career is set, blah, blah, blah. Now take that in the higher dimensions. So we're talking, 30 to 40 years to get to where you were in your human dimension. Some people are going to transition earlier, but this is just an example to see the transition, to see how it's sort of similar, but it's not. Everything you learned in your human existences will help you when you get to your soul-aligned jobs, right? It's not like they were not useful. They were. All that stuff's going to come back in at some point. So now you awaken to higher dimensional consciousness, multidimensionality, higher realities. You start going through body clearing. So let's say you start taking the courses. That's a big part of the process. People go through an awakening where they feel lost in the human realities. They might have gotten everything they always wanted, and either they got it and they weren't happy, or they almost got it, which this was mine. Almost got everything I thought I always wanted, and the whole thing collapsed on top of me. And you're like, what the fuck? This is not how it's supposed to be. This is supposed to work out. This is not supposed to not work out. How did this not work out for me? It looks so good. This would look like a slam dunk, but it didn't work out. So we start seeking what else? What else is out there besides the human realities? And you go through a seeking phase. And you can call that sort of your high school, college career in a sense, in the human realities. You're taking courses, you're learning about consciousness, you might be getting energy work done on you. You might be learning to do energy work. You might be attracted to crystals. You might be reading up on that. You're reading books on consciousness. You're watching podcasts. You're watching whatever. Movies that are all of a sudden super important to you, like The Matrix. It's a big movie to kind of expand your consciousness. Avatar is another one. I never really was into Avatar, but a lot of people thought that opened people up a lot more too. Really, any movie you watch, I can watch any movie now and see it on a lot of different layers and dimensions. So you go through all that. You might stay in that phase a couple of years. I was in that phase probably 2 to 3 to 4 years, just on books. And it's not that I don't read anymore. I still do read. I just read different types of books. I might pick it up and read it, and usually I sleep with the books and put them in bed with me. You get to a certain place, and it's like you're graduating from college from your when you did your human experience. But instead of 22 years, this might have taken you 2 to 3 years. And now you have the on-the-job training. You have to start taking all that stuff you learned and rearranging your life to fit that stuff. So everything you had constructed in a human reality that's aligned with human levels of consciousness, ego levels of consciousness, you have to now rearrange, close out, try to shift them, try to align them from a soul-aligned consciousness. This is where the rubber meets the road. The shit hits the fan. This is not the part our human likes, because we realize everything we created is extremely distorted. Now, we can either try to fix it, but a lot of times in that moment, it's just like when you just start a new job and you're fresh out of college, fresh out of school. You don't know how to do anything in a sense. You don't know how to fix a problem. You're like, I don't know what to do. I remember in a lot of the jobs I had when I first started working back in my 20s, I don't know what to do here. I just graduated. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. So a lot of stuff you kind of leave behind because you can't fix them right now. You just close out the reality. Sometimes you kind of run away from the reality, knowing at some point you're going to have to deal with it, even if it's just energetically again, the same energies will come back through again. You're going to have to deal with it again, but right now you can't deal with it. Some things, the more you go along, the more you can hold, the more you've learned to hold, the more experience you've gotten, the more awakening to new knowledge you've had, you can hold that consciousness longer. Your body starts to clear. Your DNA starts to rewrite. The longer we expose our DNA to higher states of consciousness, it shifts our DNA. Our DNA starts to morph. We start attracting different things. But that can take another 7 to 10 years, depending on how much you're going into it. If you're not aligning your realities that you know are not aligned on a soul level, you're just waiting for them to collapse, it's going to take longer. That is the hard part. It's not just all moonlight and roses for our human for that reason, because we have to look at a lot of shit we created and go, well, I can't keep that. I can't keep that. That's not aligned anymore. That's a mess over there. I don't even know how to fix that one. We're just going to let that one go because I have no idea what I'm going to do with that. We're just going to put that over there. I'll get back to that. That I can't even deal with. So it takes a while. But what took 30 to 40 years for you to get more comfortable, for you to start mastering your realities, be able to assist people in mastering their own, in a sense, or showing them what to look for, which is really what we do. We show, oh my God, that's the cat. We're going to not worry about what just fell in there. So I can wrap this up. Hopefully no one's hurt. We just keep, I totally lost my train of thought on that one. Okay, we keep guiding. We guide people, but you can't get to the place where you can do that. Just like in our human realities, where you were able to then teach other people what you had learned to do. It's just more compressed. You're learning a whole new way to live. And the other way took you how many years? Plus, you had the template built into your DNA when you got here. You got to totally rewrite that and come up with something else and rearrange everything. So don't be discouraged when it takes a while for this stuff to occur. Because until your DNA starts to rewrite, you can't have a new matrix in front of you. You can't have a new illusion to take part in. It takes a while for these things to dissolve. You have a lot of tests along the way. What are you going to choose? Are you going to go back to the old way, or are you going to keep going in the new way? So I'm going to end that here and go check what fell in the kitchen. Just keep practicing the art of intuition.